we're talking about reclaiming our roots, controlling our narrative, and making sure our children know their history. Dr. Karida Brown and artist Charly Palmer wrote the new Brownies Book, a love letter to Black families, to help parents do all of that and more. And joining us now at the table are Keith Cross and his wife, Shannon Bird, two contributors to the new Brownies Book. An experience with their young daughter led to a thought-provoking story in the Brownies Book. The title itself is riveting. I don't want to be Black anymore.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called I Don't Want to Be Black. And that's based off of something we literally heard her say. This was like during the time, this was during COVID, where we were all holed up in our homes. And this was during a time where a lot of Black people were being murdered by the police. And we were watching the news.
And we were seeing this on TV.
Yes.
We were seeing the uprising, the protests,
yes,
the outcry.
Yeah. And I don't even think we were watching. We were just kind of in the living room, the TV was just on. And
it was just like a constant loop.
Yes.
Of the footage. And of course we were having conversations about it.
And your daughter, I'm sorry, was how old at the time?
She was 8 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so throughout all of that, she kind of picked up on it. And the next thing we knew, she was running to her room, crying.
And just kind of mumbling. And I was like, what are you saying? And she was like, I don't want to be Black. I don't want to be Black. I don't want to be Black. And she was like, I want to be anything, just any. And that's, so backwards, Keith and I are both artists. So Keith is a visual artist. I'm a writer and a teacher. So we were home with the kids and we were like, we need to start a book. Let's just start some books. So we were thinking of other titles and other little things. But with this conversation with Zaya, that really prompted us to say, okay, the first book.
And let me just ask you this, because I think that is an experience. If it wasn't that verbiage, and our viewers are looking at some of the illustrations from this beautiful story, I think a lot of parents have had some form or fashion of a conversation of what that season, particularly 2020, looked like for children. What is the first thing you said to your daughter when she said that?
Well, first we were shocked, because just to hear that, was just like, it just sounded like a foreign language that you've never heard before. And especially coming from a daughter who we felt like had gotten so much Blackness filtered through me and her mom from what we do on the side and just from who we are as people. So for us to hear that from her, it was just like a red light, just stop everything.
Right.
But me being a storyteller, after we let it marinate for a few days, we were thinking of stories. I was like, it seems like an anomaly, but I feel like other people could probably relate, because everybody was at home, everybody was holding, everybody was kind of facing facts that may otherwise
and we were all trying to figure this out in our own spaces and our homes during COVID.
Exactly.
Charly, you spoke to the fact that Du Bois reached out to artists and said, what can you contribute to the original Brownies? Is that what you did with this family, with others?
Keith was in the same building as I was, the same studio. And we were having that conversation one day. And when he said that, I'm like, this would be perfect for the book. You need to do an illustration on this. And so I think that's where a lot of it was very organic. And like whenever I look at that particular series of illustrations, he encapsulates it in that one image where you see George Floyd, you see all these images behind. And it's like, I thought it would be perfect for the book. And once we saw it, I think Karida will absolutely agree.
And Dr. Brown, how do people, these conversations, they continue, right? The kids who are in middle school or in high school now and dealing with this and looking at this differently, and in college now. How much of this conversation are parents still having to have every time a new chapter of this comes up, whether it's the violence or the rewriting of history?
It is part and parcel with the Black American experience. So Black parents have been having to have this conversation since we arrived in this country, and we continue to have it now. It's just like having the talk that every parent has to have with their kids at some point in their lives.
We were talking about this earlier, but so with Zaya and how we helped her work through it, because of course you don't want your kid to just be like, okay, I don't want to be black, now let's just all be sad. We pushed it forward with a talk of art as activism. So and at first she was just kind of like, because I think the conversation became like, I feel helpless, I don't know what to do. So we used Michael Jackson's They Don't Really Care About Us. And we're telling her that's art is activism, right? You can, not everything is you have to go out into the streets, because she was kind of like, I'm afraid about things like that. Not everything is that. You can,
there are different ways that you can make your voice heard.
So the book, as the book continues, it's actually an affirmation to black kids, like why it is great to be black. But it's even what Karida was speaking on earlier about the erasure of certain things of black history. When instances like this happen, that's where you're kind of at a crossroads. Like, okay, if you don't have a parent that's going to tell you, you could go down a road where you feel like it's okay to feel like I don't want to be black,
Right. And that's obviously what we're trying to make sure our children don't feel like that there's a pride and understanding who you are and whose you are, right? All right. When we return, we're going to continue this important conversation about reclaiming our roots and telling our stories. And you're going to hear from one of the, I think, the youngest contributors to the book when we return. Stay with us.